Hey guys, it's Chandler Vincent with WeldingMade.com. Welcome back for the month of June. Let's weld some stainless today. Alright guys, let's get started by checking the part number in the bottom right hand corner. Just make sure it's the same as my blueprint. Make sure we're referencing the same blueprint and you got the right paper in the box. So we'll get started by looking at the right hand corner and we'll get all these parts identified for you. Make sure you know what part's what and where it goes. So we'll start off with part 1. Part 1 is the base plate. It's a 5x6 rectangle with 4 round corners. Part number 2 is the big long 6-inch plate. Part number 3 is that skewed part. There's 2 of them. They are mirrored to be opposites. Part number 4 is the triangle pieces that go on each side. There should be 2 of them. Part number 5 is the rectangle piece with the Welder Made logo. Part number 6 is the skewed triangles. Should be 2 opposites, 1 for each side. And part number 7 is the same as part number 5, just without the Welder Made logo. Alright, part number 8 is the part with the purge hole. And that is all the pieces for this project. Let's get started with the cleaning process. I'm just using a 4-inch grinder with a flapper wheel, taking off the burrs on one side, cleaning the weld face on the other. Making sure the dross is gone and I am working with a clean weld area. I'm using acetone to degrease the parts, get rid of any surface contaminations. You're welcome to use any chemical, just make sure you are safe with it. Wear your gloves and keep it far away from your weld area when welding. Alright, I'm going to start with both of the side assemblies. Anything that's on the same plane, like parts 4, 6, and 3. We'll have 2 sets. They'll be opposites. I'm using part number 6 here just to straighten everything up. Quick little fusion tacks. They don't need to be very big. I'm going to do the other side, making sure that it is the opposite direction. Using part number 6 as a straight edge, make sure everything's straight. Okay, now I'm going to flip these parts upside down so the dross is facing up. That's opposite of what I've taught you guys in the past, but there's a reason why we're going to do it. So we're going to do quick little fusion tacks, just butt them straight together. This will hold them together as we bend them and to form the right angle. As you can see, that allows me to bend the parts without them breaking and form them to the right angle without putting tacks in my weld area. If you are training for a world skills competition, putting tacks on the inside of the project is illegal, so if you're training, just try to remember to put the tacks on the outside. For what we're doing here, it's perfect to put the tacks on the inside. It allows you to bend them just right, so it's up to you. As you can see, I used these side pieces I pre-tacked to find the right angle for those parts 5, 8, and 7. Now that that's together, we're going to transfer over to the easy tack. We're going to take our side pieces, our side assemblies, and tack them onto part 6, which is the long rectangle. Make sure those corners line up nice and good, everything's nice and tight. I'm going to flip it over and tack on the other side assembly. Okay, now we got that assembly together. we will get the easy tack out of our way and finish up the assembly. So I messed around with this for a minute trying to figure out the best way possible. What I found is just worry about that top corner joint first, get everything lined up, and then work your way down the project, making sure that corner joint stays consistent all the way down that assembly. Now that it's all tacked up, I brushed all my tacks, got all the oxidization layer off. If it's discolored, make sure you brush it till it's the stainless color. I went through and added extra tacks on the butt joints and on all the corner joints, reinforcing all the corners, keeping it from warping, and it also helps with the heat transfer throughout the project. So tacking all the corners and putting a couple fusion tacks along the butt joints helps with the heat transferring through the project evenly, and that's very important to make sure some parts aren't hotter than others. I got the base plate tacked on good. I'm stuffing my steel wool in this purge hole with my hose. There's many different ways you can do it. I'm working on getting a product out for you guys that will help with this purge process, but right now this seems to work just good enough. It's not a perfect purge, but it gets the job done. If you don't have the ability to purge, that's just fine. Right here I am just doing little fusion tacks on a piece of scrap metal, making sure that I don't have any oxygen swirling into my gas area with my argon. Okay, now that I got my gas cup all set up, I'm going to continue to put some extra tacks around this project, reinforcing any area I feel like is going to warp. I put a couple little quick fusion tacks on the butt joints. Put big nice tacks on all the corners. With stainless, it likes to warp more than other materials, so make sure you just have it nice and reinforced and let the heat transfer through that project evenly. I had a small purge, about 3 psi going on that project the whole time I was tacking. That should get all the oxygen out by the time I start welding. I'm going to start by welding parts 6 and 3 together on that horizontal butt joint. I'm going to carry that weld all the way over the same direction. I'm going to brush it real quick, get rid of that oxidized stop I had, and I'm going to continue that weld the same direction all the way around the project, connecting parts 6 and 3, 8 and 5, and the other set of 6 and 3, just welding all the way around the project. They're almost horizontal butt joints. The idea is to make it look like one continuous weld bead with no stop and starts. So I put my stop and starts on those outside corners. That way I can cover them up when I weld those outside corner joints. So now that those are welded, I'm going to go up to parts 7 and 8, do that horizontal skewed fillet. I'm going to use the TIG finger to rest my filler wire hand on this project as I weld the vertical butt joints on the side connecting parts 4 and 6. I like using that TIG finger on my filler wire hand almost as much as I like using it on my torch hand. Just whatever keeps your hands from getting hot and keeps you comfortable. These TIG fingers were originally designed by Jody with Welding Tips and Tricks. I love this product. I use it every day. I supply it for my employees, so I want to supply it to you guys. I have them on the website available. If you're interested, check them out. So now I'm going to start on these vertical corner joints. You're going to change angles a couple different times continuing up this project. Feel free to practice stop starts if you get uncomfortable. Don't feel like you need to weld it all in one. As you can see, I stopped there, brushed, got comfortable. I brushed that stop, got it nice and clean, and now I'm going to continue welding up part 8. Every stop I do, I brush if it's oxidized, and I also clip all my wire ends, making sure I'm not starting with oxidized filler. If you guys are having problems with your starts, it's probably starting with an oxidized filler wire tip. So pay attention to that. Make sure you stay away from any oxidized areas as much as possible. Oxidized stainless will always create a turbulent weld pull, and a turbulent weld pull is really hard to manage. So these long vertical angled corner joints were kind of tough. I went through with a large stick out on my torch, welded the first inch to get through that angle, and then I readjusted my stick out to less of a stick out on my tungsten and to continue to weld the rest. With that project being such at a steep angle, this gave a really hard challenge, and I really like it. It's a good challenge. Welding at that angle kind of towards yourself is difficult in my opinion, so it's really good practice. Just try to get comfortable and make the best out of it you can. Okay, now that those vertical corners are welded, I'm going to continue welding that outside corner on part 7. I'm going to wrap it around and leave all the welds to that one crater on that outside corner, with only leaving one crater available on that whole project. As you can see, I got a little bit of smoke there. I burnt the end of my purge hose. Finishing up this one outside corner, binding parts 5, 8, and 7. That your base plate makes it hard for fillet welds because it's sitting flat on a table, and that table's drawing the heat out of the project about as fast as you're putting it in. It's not as bad on these stainless projects as it is on the aluminum. Just try to weld small with a small weld bead, hot and fast, keeping that heat focused in one little area and carrying it fast, making it to where the project doesn't get overheated and your weld doesn't get out of control. People often like to have too big of weld sizes on these fillet welds. You're looking for about an 1/8 inch bead. This project turned out pretty good. It was a really good project. A lot of weld inch practice, a lot of butt joints, a lot of outside corners. It had a unique problem area or struggle area on those outside corners, and that skewed fillet there at the bottom where that project was angled tremendously. We did that on purpose to create a challenge. If you guys are getting really good at these projects and they're feeling a little bit too repetitive, try focusing on getting full penetration on the inside of the project on all your butt joints and corner joints, while keeping a good full radius contour on your corners and maintaining your bead width on the butt joints. This will create a whole nother set of problems and will lead you to find more problem areas. And the reason why that is because if you're trying to get more penetration, you're welding a little bit hotter, and the heat management on this project tends to get more difficult. So if you're looking for a challenge, try to get full penetration on the butt joints and corners. If you're having problems, check your gas, check your shielding area. If you're having a lot of discoloration on your project, really dark gray, you're either welding too hot or your gas nozzle setup doesn't have the right gas pressure or a big enough nozzle. If you're having problems and you can't get a specific thing figured out, feel free to contact me via email or my cell number or directly on the website. I'm here to help. If there's anything you need from me, please let me know. I'm excited to see you guys next month. Thank you for being part of the Welder Made family, and keep practicing.